lie about oil, petroleum, energy. We are members of the OPEC. In Venezuela, we have a socialist revolution going on since 1999. And you know, we are too close, too near to the United States, so it hasn't been easy. We have faced coup d'etats that ousted our former president, Comandante Chavez, in 2002. We have had sabotage against our oil company. And at the moment we're facing a blockade, like the Cuban blockade. You know a lot about it, Ambassador, for more than 50 years. But this is quite new for us. It's not since last year when President Trump not only threatened himself to attack Venezuela with the military forces of the United States, and then he signed a decree, an executive order imposing sanctions against our people, against our economy. This comes from some years before. Banks closed our accounts. They didn't want to work with us. When we went to search for financing in the international institutions, they would deny immediately because they had orders from the United States not to help Venezuela. Last year we had a very difficult year. You know, our right-wing opposition is not always democratic. We have a democratic government, a democratic revolution happening, but the right-wing opposition violence, political violence, several times during these 19 years. Last time was last year. They went to the streets, they destroyed buildings, public buildings and private buildings, storages for food and medicine. They killed people. They had barricades in several cities of Venezuela. Some of a black Venezuelan close to their demonstrations, they said, this man here, if he is here, he's dressing like a poor fellow, his skin is dark, he's probably a Chavista, a revolutionary, so we have to kill him. And so they did. 9 Venezuelans were burned alive, and 20 other Venezuelans are still recovering from the burns and what they suffered. So President Maduro could have solved this very easily. We have a united national armed force that responds to the government and to the Constitution. And he could have ordered the armed forces to repress the people, and that would have ended maybe in 8 hours or 12 hours. But what he did was to find a democratic solution to the problem. So he took our Constitution, and in 3 articles of the Constitution, you can call for a National Constituent Assembly when there is a big crisis happening. And discussing the new Constitution, all the parts have to abandon violence, not people killing people. In spite of the violence, of the barricades, of the destruction, the elections were called. The opposition denied to take part, to participate. They said that the Constituent Assembly was not in the Constitution. You can read the Constitution, it's very clear, it's there. But their action was violence. They thought that President Maduro would resign and go to Cuba and escape because the pressure of the people, but the real people, the poor people, the humble, are with the revolution. And the 30th of July, the elections were held. And with all this violence, we expected between 5 and 6 million people to turn out and vote. But the people surprised even the political revolutionary leaders, and more than 8 million Venezuelans voted for the National Constituent Assembly. Many of them are not revolutionaries, but they were tired of violence. They were tired of destruction, and they wanted peace and a democratic solution, and they supported the constituents than to their own people. But then, the 31st of July, peace came back to the Venezuelan streets. No more demonstrations, no more riots. The opposition was surprised, 8 million people. They were defeated, morally defeated, politically defeated. Then the National Constituent Assembly called for gubernatorial elections. We have 23 states with governors, as you have here in Nigeria. And the revolutionary forces won 19 out of 23 states. So it was a big victory for the revolution. And all the opposition participated, and they had one candidate per state. So it was a very good result for the opposition, for the Venezuelan revolution, not for the opposition. Then the National Constituent Assembly called for the elections for the municipalities, the mayors. There are 335 municipalities in Venezuela. Some parties of the opposition decided not to participate because they were afraid to be defeated again. And they received orders as well. We invited them, come. They would have probably won more than 100 municipalities, but they didn't want to participate. And the Bolivarian Revolution won 308 out of 335 municipalities. And the revolution had 335 candidates, but there were more than 1,500 candidates, more than the 335 of the revolution. So the opposition did participate, not openly, but they did, and they lost. Then in the Dominican Republic, which is a very beloved country from the Caribbean, we organized with the Dominican Republic government a dialogue process between the opposition and the government, because this was our president's idea, because we want dialogue, we want peace, we want democracy, we want the people to decide, not President Trump, our people, not the government of our neighbor countries, our people. So we sat there with the opposition for more than 3 months. I don't know how many meetings we had in Dominican Republic and in Caracas as well. The president of the Dominican Republic really dedicated time and resources to help us, and so did former president of Spain, José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero. And finally, we reached the agreement, verbally, Monday from last week. The only thing that had to happen is we had to travel to Santo Domingo, the capital of Dominican Republic, and sign the agreement. Everything was agreed. And the government delegation arrived, the pens were there, the agreements were there, the cameras were there. And when the opposition delegation arrived, they said there was no agreement. That was fake news. It was really frustrating for the president of the Dominican Republic. He was really angry, and so was former President Zapatero from Spain, because the day before they had agreed to sign, and there they had the conditions that they were asking for. You know, in 2015, the opposition won the National Assembly elections, not the National Constituent Assembly, the National Assembly, the Congress elections, by a large amount of votes. So what they asked is, let's go back to those conditions, where the electoral centers are in these places, where the organization of the process is in this way. So that's what we did. Okay, no problem. Then they asked for international observers. Okay, very good. We invited the Secretary General of the United Nations to organize a mission, electoral mission, so that they can observe all the process, not only the day of the elections, all the process of the elections. Our electoral system is very fair and very secure. It's all automatic. It's with machines, computers. It's one of the most secure electoral systems in the world. So we have no problem. You can come and observe and examine everything. But the opposition received an order. The same day we had to sign the agreement, the Secretary of State of the United States, I mean the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the United States, Mr. Rex Tillerson, was in Colombia, right next to us, with the President of Colombia. And suddenly the opposition received a phone call from Colombia, and they said they wouldn't sign the agreement. The date that the opposition asked for the elections was the 22nd of April. President Maduro and the government wanted to hold the elections before, in March. But President Maduro has decided to do the elections the 22nd of April. We're going to comply with each and every one of the agreements because we did sign the agreement. The opposition didn't. So now we're having elections, and the world is saying that Maduro is a dictator, that he is imposing the date, that it's really curious because this opposition and the government of the United States and the governments that are now against Venezuela in the region were asking for presidential elections. They said, don't do National Constituent Assembly elections. The only election you need is presidential elections. Don't do gubernatorial elections. Only presidential elections will be the answer. So now we have presidential elections. And now they don't want the elections because the opposition is divided, because it has been defeated, and because the people, even the people that follow the opposition, don't have confidence in that leadership. So now it's again against the government, the revolution, the President Maduro. And if you watch CNN or BBC or you read some newspapers, you will find there that Maduro is a dictator, he's a drug dealer, he has this, he eats little boys. I mean, it's a crazy world. Why? Because we own our national resources, and we do what our people want with our national resources. We invest in education, free education for everyone, even higher education, and even for other citizens of the world. How many Nigerians graduated? 27 Nigerians graduated as doctors in Venezuela 2 weeks ago. And you are here, and we are very happy. Gracias, muchachos. Gracias por volver. Because they came back to Nigeria. That's the objective of the plan. Not graduating in Venezuela and then going to work to Colombia or to Panama or to the United States. No, you have to go to the villages. You have to go where the people need help in your country. That's the most important thing. So President Maduro next week will probably deliver from the housing program we have, the house 2 million families. You can multiply that by 4 or 5, how many million people that have new houses, apartments? You know about that, you saw it. So we haven't sacrificed $1 or 1 bolivar because of the sanctions, because of the pressure. It's the opposite. We are investing even more in the people. So we want the elections to be held in peace. We wish that the opposition, at least if they won't participate in the elections, at least they still peacefully at home and not go and not repeat this history of going to the streets and destroying everything.
Of the peoples. They are afraid of democracy. How can you be president of the United States? There are only two parties, and you have to be a millionaire, and you have to have relation with the business and the corporation. If not, you cannot be president. Is that democracy? That's not democracy. President Maduro comes from the working class. Mr. President of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He was a bus driver. He was a leader of the trade unions. And that's why Comandante Chavez chose Maduro, because he came from the working class, from a family that belonged to the class.
So the people in Venezuela are in power since 1999. And no empire and no new colonial force will make the people abandon power in Venezuela. So we need your solidarity. We need you to say the truth about Venezuela. If I am saying something that is not true, let's debate. And let me demonstrate that I'm telling the truth. I have the facts. I see the reality. And I must say that President Maduro does what his people says. If there were elections and the opposition takes part in these elections and they win, they won. And they will be in power for 6 years. And then there will be elections and probably a revolutionary will win the elections after our people suffer the neoliberal plans and the IMF receipts and formulas and everything. But that won't happen because most of the Venezuelans are humble people and they support their social Bolivarian revolution. So I'm very happy to be here. I had a very good meeting this morning with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria. We're working for a new stage of our relationship, and we have many fields in which we can work together. And I appreciate all the efforts and the support that you have given us. I know that Cuba, Mr. Trump says, we have to defeat the Cuban communist dictatorship and the Venezuelan socialist dictatorship. So we are always together. And that makes us happy, because the Cuban people are free and they have access to education, to health care, free, and to culture and to knowledge for free. And they are very organized people, and that's the way we want to follow, with our own particularities and characteristics. But that's the path that we admire from Cuba. So thank you for listening to me. I will be traveling around some other countries in Africa, telling the truth about Venezuela, and I even invite your Congress to be part of the international observation of the Venezuelan elections. Maybe, I don't know, we have to make contact with the electoral power in Venezuela send you an invitation, and you can be there as well. Thank you very much. Thank you for your solidarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency. And now I want to call our comrade, the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, first let me also join our numerous members to welcome you first to Nigeria, but in particular to the headquarters of the Nigeria Labour Congress. As you said, we have followed with keen interest some of the emerging developments, particularly in Venezuela over time. And certainly some of the developments are not very pleasing, as you said. We must, as a people, continue to assert our authority and independence. Because clearly speaking, what is happening around the world today is the fact that inequality have continued to increase because of the fact that there is a new trend of new liberalism, where interests of our countries are being undermined, and where interests of few countries around the world drive the process of development everywhere around the world. This certainly is unacceptable. There must be freedom, and freedom must be total, without limitation or restriction. Countries must be allowed to use their resources. They must also be able to use the resources for the benefit of their citizens. I think this has been the challenge, and this has been the problem in most countries. If you look at the situation you mentioned about Cuba, it's simple. The blockage is about undermining the sovereignty of that country and sovereignty of the people. And that's why peace will continue to elude us around the world. Panacea to peace is where there is development, where there is freedom. Where there is no freedom, certainly this issue of insecurity around the world will continue to happen. Even in the United States, you can see the issue of continued use of arms have been on the increase. This is because the system have not allowed people around the world to be free. So once again, we bring message of solidarity, particularly to our colleagues, the working people of Venezuela, who have actually followed the trend, some of the difficulties they have undergone, especially with the blockage, where even critical social services like health and education have been affected. Certainly it's a situation that we will not accept as working people. And therefore we'll use this opportunity once again to assure you of our continuous support and solidarity. Because injustice anywhere around the world is injustice everywhere. That is the message of the ILO as far back as 1919, the Philadelphia Declaration. Is anchored on social justice around the world. And I think as working people, we will continue to support our colleagues. We will continue to advance these issues that are very critical to overall development of our countries. So once again, we welcome you to Nigeria, and I assure you of our continued support. We'll continue to say it as it is, because clearly speaking, there is no way one country can police the entire world. That is not possible, and that will not happen. And that's why a lot of issues are emerging. I remembered recently, Africa was called a whole sheet. And I'm happy that the African Union have responded recently. There is no way you can derogate people that you have feeding fat on their resources. Those countries are feeding fat on our resources because Africa is so endowed with resources. From gold to oil, we are so endowed to agri products, to gold, and many of those resources. And therefore they take our resources and also make us to be slaves. That cannot continue to happen, because where there is injustice, then peace will also elude such countries. So once again, Your Excellency, as you go around the world, have in mind that Nigerian workers are in support of justice and fairness, particularly in Venezuela. And we're against the blockage because it's not justified. So once again, our special solidarity, and I wish you a safe trip as you go around the world. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
So thank you very much, President Conrad. Now, to finish, I want to call one of the doctors. And now, if you permit me, I want to just speak a little bit in Spanish, just for them. Quiero llamar a alguno de los doctores que venga acá a hablar un poco sobre la experiencia que tuvieron en Venezuela. Uno de ustedes para culminar este acto. Please, only one to finish this program.
Good evening. It's a pleasure. My name is Dr. Musa Otason. On behalf of me and my colleagues here, we are 29 in number, 24 medical doctors and 5 agricultural engineers. My greetings to His Excellency, the Minister, the Ambassadors, and all protocols duly observed. They are all consent. I don't know what to say. So, Venezuela, to me, I would say is a big part of experience of my life, because I never knew that I would reach this level which I was if it's not with the help of the Venezuelan government. We want to, on behalf of me and my colleagues, we want to thank you. That may God continue to bless you and your government and give you more strength and knowledge to be able to continue with more programs of this manera. So anyway, we spent seven and a half years, and I would love to say it's a wonderful experience. Because we met in our university, we're from 32 different countries, all over South America, Africa, Asia, and we all stayed together for 3 years before we went for our hospital clinical attachment or rotation. And I would love to say, the only thing I will say is that may God bless you. May God continue to strengthen the socialist revolution, because these programs, it was actually targeted for us who are less privileged, who are straight from less privileged families, and I don't know how to express that. Our prayer is that the blockage which is being done, we pray that and we hope that this problem will be solved very soon by the grace of God.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much. Really, it was a big emotion when we listened this one about our country, and especially when this is the legacy of our Hugo Chavez. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the doctor, for coming. Thank you very much for the Solidarity Group, a young group. I would just want to call to present the president introduce the president of the Solidarity Group. The name is Neymar. Actually, his name is Dennis, and he supports us always when we need the Solidarity Group here in Nigeria. With all these people we are here as some of the Solidarity Group of Cuba, Palestine, and Syria. Thank you very much. So, I want to apologize, but our minister is very tired today for the long trip. Just a few words to our president of the Solidarity Group, and thank you very much for coming.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, press and ambassadors, all seated, and medical personnel. My name is Dennis, but I'm popularly called Nema. He named me that. Well, thank you all for being here this evening and supporting Venezuela all through the crisis and the conflict and every other thing. And thank you, the Minister, for being here with us this evening. It's a great honor. We, the footballers, we are all here, and the Solidarity Group would say thank you. And we've known him for a few years now, and with his contribution and the way he has helped us. Well, he represents Hugo Chavez, because every time he talks about Hugo Chavez, I was wondering, who's this Hugo Chavez of a man? Then I had to do more research on him, and I discovered that he was somebody that Venezuela honors so much. And I was like, what are his criteria? What does he possess that everybody likes him so much? I saw that he came from the poor family, he helped the poor, he managed your economic resources, the oil refineries of Venezuela to the top of it. And to crown it up all, whenever we're going out for sport, any solidarity group will always aim to bring the name of Hugo Chavez out, because he's one of a kind, and he's one that the world will always remember for a very long time. Thank you very much, sir.
Sorry, but we have just one more program. It's a cultural things.
Yeah, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, yes, please, we have it's called the Nigerian Ikombi cultural dance. Please enjoy. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope they enjoyed the dance. Yes, it's a Nigerian cultural dance from the south of Nigeria. Yeah, thank you very much, Your Honorable Minister. Thank you so much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you learned and you gained one or two things, and it was also entertaining as well. Thank you so much. God bless you. So the event is closed. Yeah, thank you. Let's excuse the Honorable Minister first, and then every other person will follow.